Hi, everyone. This is the PC Expert Amateur here, and I just wanted to let you know that I'm going to be setting aside the projects that I've been putting up lately, which are doing the part one reviews of fans, as well as the fan series that I've been sharing with you to help you learn more about fans. I have two other projects that I need to focus on for the time being. One of which is I'm doing a series of videos as I put together a computer for my niece. So I'm going to show how I do that. And the other one is I'm going to do a series of tests of the all-in-one water cooler, the frozen knot from Thermalright that I've got in my computer right now, to see if the supposed test results or alleged test results from MSI about the best positioning for an AIO are correct or not. Or maybe I won't get the same results, and it might be not to do with them being wrong, but because I have a different setup than what they used. But on the other hand, it should be pretty similar. So it's a pretty time consuming one. So what I'm going to do is I will release each video as separate test videos so that you can follow along with me as I go through the process of testing each position. So just to clarify what I mean by each position, I will have one fan in the computer. This is a 5000X from Corsair. It's in the IQ lineup, and I'll have on the rear fan position a Noctua NF A12 by 25, and the AIO will be mounted in one of three places, either the top, the front, or the right-hand side. And then for each position, I will vary which direction the fans are blowing, either intake or exhaust. And for the front and side, I will also vary whether the tubes go down or the tubes go up. So the theory runs like this. When you have the AIO on top, you are doing two things. One, you're pulling all the hot air in the case through the AIO at the same time that it's trying to get rid of the heat from the CPU that is going into the radiator from the tubes. So you're actually slightly defeating the intention of the AIO. And so in that case, it doesn't necessarily make a lot of difference if the tubes go to the front of the case or the tubes go to the rear of the case. There are other things that are potentially important, such as which side of the pump head which is mounted onto the CPU that the tubes are coming out of. So are they coming out of the bottom? Are they coming out of the side? Are they coming out of the top? That can potentially increase or decrease the likelihood of air buildup in the pump head, which can eventually result in the pump dying. Because when the impeller, which is the magnetic part that spins, and if you don't know what I'm talking about, look up a water filter for an aquarium, and you should be able to find some pictures of an impeller. Basically, it kind of looks like, in a vague sort of way, it looks like a torpedo, and it's got this spinning part that is powered by the magnets. It looks kind of like a propeller, although not exactly. Now, I can't say what it looks like inside of the pump of an AIO because I haven't actually seen one. I'm just basing my general description on what I know of them from when I worked in the aquatic pet industry. So if enough air gets into the pump head to the point that the pump head's well, not the pump head's well, it is the pump head's well, but the well in which the impeller sits, where the magnets are acting upon it, runs dry or partially dry, or enough dry in any event, then what will happen is it's going to start rubbing against the sides, it's going to heat up. It's eventually going to become damaged and broken. And that could be something that, depending on how the pump is designed, it could be something fairly, if you know how to do it, fairly simple to replace the impeller with something new. But it could be a permanent impeller instead of a replaceable impeller, in which case that's going to be a lot more challenging. And possibilities go on and on. So, if, for example, you, I'm speaking theory here. If, for example, you are going to mount the water cooler on the front, and the tubes are down at the bottom of the radiator, and the tubes are going to the CPU where the pump head is, and the tubes are going into the pump head from the bottom, potentially because of what's called permeation or osmosis, you could have gas entering the tubes through tiny pores in the rubber that could then travel up into the pump head. And over time, it could result in there being enough air or whatever gas it is that you would actually hear the impeller knocking around or whatever. Now, if you were instead to have the radiator with the tubes at the bottom, but the tubes would go up, and here's the pump head, and the tubes would go up to the top of it instead, it'd be much harder for that air to become trapped inside of the pump block. So theoretically, that's better. Also, the reason why you would want to have the tubes going into the radiator at the bottom instead is because then all of the gas that travels to the radiator through this whole circulating system goes up to the top of the radiator and gets trapped up there, in theory. So then, some people argue, well, that's not right. It's not the best place. There are various opinions. And since the places that I help out on, people don't agree with each other. Some people believe MSI. Some people don't believe MSI. I've decided that I'm going to find out. And I started it, and I made some mistakes that in retrospect, it should have been obvious. I just wasn't paying attention. But basically, I need to track the temperature in my room while I'm doing the testing, and that means the reason I have to do that is because I have to find out what the delta temperature is. Delta temperature is where you take the temperature that you're getting during the testing, and you subtract the temperature of your room. That gives you that leftover amount is called the delta temperature, and that is something that theoretically it shouldn't matter about the ambient temperature of the room. You should, if you're in a 20-degree room or a 30-degree room or a 40-degree room or a 70-degree room, whatever it is, Celsius, Fahrenheit, whatever, it theoretically should not matter as far as what the delta temperatures will be. But my suspicion is, and I'm not an expert in this field, but my suspicion is that in actuality, the temperature of the room will actually alter the delta temperature. So I'm not going to be doing that because I don't have enough control over my environment to try and find out how different room temperatures impact the delta temperature. I wish I could build a chamber that my computer would be inside of, and that I could fully control temperature and humidity, but I don't have the ability to do that at this time. I don't have the space for it, to be quite honest. So I hope you have you've fully understood what I'm talking about. So it'll be a series of videos. So if we think about each position, there will be at least 4 tests on the front, intake and exhaust, tubes down, tubes up, 4 tests on the side, and another 2 tests on the top. Now, again, I could also, look at the variation of whether the tubes come out of the top or the bottom or the side of the pump head. But the problem with doing that is permeation happens so slowly that it can take years before there's enough air or whatever gas it is that's built up in the pump block or pump head that you would even be aware. And I have no way to be aware of that. And I certainly can't spend a year, 2 years, 3 years waiting to see what happens. So unfortunately, I cannot really properly explore that. So I'm just going to go with most likely with the tubes coming out of the top, or maybe the tubes coming out of the side. I really don't feel that the tubes coming out of the bottom is a good idea. But yeah, that's pretty much it. So for the next few weeks, I will not be releasing anything about fans. It'll all be about my niece's computer and about the AIO testing. Again, questions, comments, please put them down below. Do remember, of course, to like, subscribe, and share, and always be civil, because I have very low tolerance for trolls and flamers, and you'll just end up being banned from my channel. Thanks so much for watching, and I hope you have a wonderful day.